She's someone with global business and educational experience who advises young people to stick to their principles, to put people first, and to embrace emotional intelligence. Welcome to another episode in Season 4's Leaders of Tomorrow with Lordana Meunier. In this conversation with host Melanie Taddeo, Lordana shares her three main pillars in her lessons learned: listen, let go, and trust. Advice for both younger people aspiring to be leaders and those people today who are cultivating the leadership qualities in our youth. If you like this episode, consider rating the podcast in your player app, and be sure to subscribe to the program to receive notifications of new content.
Good day and welcome to Connect for Life, the podcast. I'm Melanie Taddeo, and today I'm joined by another amazing leader, Lordana. Lordana, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Melanie. Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be your guest on this podcast. So, I'm Lordana, and I am from Rodrigues Island, Mauritius, in the Indian Ocean. I just moved to Canada like a year and a half ago, and I'm so glad to have been able to know Melanie and to connect with her and to participate with her, having participated with her on so many events. And I'm glad to be on her podcast this afternoon.
Thanks so much, Lordana. Now, I'm just going to give our audience a little bit of background of how we actually met. You're a Rotarian, and you joined the Mississauga West Club, which I belong to. And we know that Rotarians are all about leadership and about making a difference in our communities. But tell us a little bit about your leadership journey.
Well, my leadership journey started I was thinking about it actually when you said that we're going to talk about that today. And I think my leadership journey started when I was really young, because from a very young age, I started in social work. I started, joining groups of kids in the at church to do things for other kids and for our community. And then as I grew up, it kept, sticking to me. And my parents also have been a lot of guidance in that because they were also in social works, in active politics. So I kind of fell into the pot, I can say, from a very early age. Like I was a girl's guide, so which also developed my leadership skills because I had to lead the others, the younger ones, and from there, I just kept on growing and I kept on leading, uh, doing things for the community, and until I ended up in active politics as well. So this is when I kind of really had to develop my bigger leadership skills because working with a community as for social work is totally different when you work on a political point of view.
Oh,
So, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have had to learn to know people, to know what they're expecting from you and how you have to respond to their needs. And so that really give me a head on about how to really become. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm a very good leader, but I lead. When I have to do it, I just do it. And like I feel like it's just, it's just part of my DNA. It's like I just go about doing it. So yeah, I think it started from a very young age when I started to join all those groups and kept on working with other people and working for other people as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So now I'm curious, leadership in Mauritius or Rodrigues Island, what, if any, are similarities or differences from leadership here in Canada? Because I know you've taken on some leadership roles here as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are there?
And yeah, well, leadership leading is for me, it's the same everywhere, but it's true that you've got some specific aspects that needs to be taken into consideration as well when you're doing your leadership work, right? Your leadership role. I would say like there's not much differences except for instance, in Canada what I've realized that there is a lot more attention that needs to be given to the legal part of things, right? Let me try to explain what I mean. It's like it's not that back home we don't look at the legal part. We do, but still here it's a bit more it becomes like a constraint as well. For instance, if you're looking for volunteers, for students to come and volunteer for something, you've got to make sure that all the parameters regarding youth safety is taken into consideration. And it is a bit more, like you feel it more here. Back home, I could just go into a school, talk to the management, and I can easily get young people to join an activity that I will be making for them. Still, I have to respect all the parameters to ensure that they are secure and everything, but it's a bit less constraining than here. But apart from that, I don't think there's much difference because, when you're a leader, you're working with people. And when you're working with people, if you know how to be with them, you know how to listen to them, and you give them the space that they require to do whatever they have to do and whatever you have to do together. So for me, there's not much differences.
Thank you for that. Now, I know that I learned something very, very important about leadership when dealing with different cultures and backgrounds. So, for example, for myself, when I started Connect for Life South Africa, it was a very different experience for me to learn about the way I communicated as a leader versus how I communicate as a leader here.
Mhm.
And have you noticed that difference? And if so, can you give an example of the difference that you've experienced?
Um, I wouldn't say I have, because maybe Melanie, I come from like Mauritius, Rodrigues. We were like British colonies, and we still have this British background. And coming here, there's not much that still there's the British English background. I don't feel, and the culture also is not that much different,
Mhm.
right? I can understand what you said when you go to South Africa, because like if I would go to a different country, maybe I would feel like, let's say I go to India and having to do work there, maybe there I would feel the cultural differences maybe a bit more than
Mhm.
here. I can say that I have not really felt that. It's true that when you talk about like you've got to adjust your discourse, you've got to adjust what you have to say and how do you have to say it. That's for me kind of normal.
Mhm.
Like even if you are in the same culture as well, whenever you go to work with different groups of people with different backgrounds and different, needs, you need to adjust that. And I haven't really felt like you felt the cultural disparities or the differences that much between Canada and Mauritius so far.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So for me, I think the biggest difference was I have to be a direct communicator in South Africa rather than
Mm-hmm.
being the supportive communicator that I am here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and I should know this because my husband is a very direct communicator. So I think, being straight to the point, what is it you're looking for? This is what we need done. Let's get it done by this date. And that is the way that my team in South Africa really benefits from. Whereas here,
Mm-hmm.
I may have a story to share along with it. And that kind of just sets an example. I don't need
Yeah.
that when I'm communicating
Mm-hmm.
with my team in South Africa. So that was the big difference I found. But you've like you mentioned you adapt the way you lead according
Yeah.
to the people, which makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. Can you share some of your experiences as a leader, especially as a woman leader, that you experienced good, bad, or kind of interesting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As a woman leader, what I've experienced good is like you are able, as a woman, maybe there are issues or places or things that you can do as a woman, which could be difficult for a man to do. And then as a woman leader, we use our emotional intelligence, maybe a little bit more, if I can say so, in order to deal with whatever situation is at hand as a leader. We are able to show empathy and, get get to know the people more. This is what I've used so many times as a leader. But as a leader and as a woman, the difficulties comes from, again, these differences between the male world, a world ruled by men, and being a woman into that world, right? Um, Although we've been talking about gender equality, and I do agree there has been a lot that has been achieved in that arena, in that sense, right? But still, because I can relate to it more as having been a politician, right? I was in that men's world, and I wanted to be the best leader I could be, do the best I could do for my community, for my country. But it is still difficult for a woman to be able to get my point of view across as I would love it to be, having to operate in this man's world, right? So you've got to be very strong, you've got to be very forceful, you've got to really keep going and going and going and accept failure, because if you've got 10 ideas, you're sure that maybe not even half of it will get through.
Mhm.
So you have to find ways and means of convincing and getting your point across and showing to them that this is going to work, right? And that for me was the hardest part of leading as a woman. Right, to lead as a woman is when you are not able, because you're a woman, to get your point across, right? Because I don't know, the way I lead is that I try to be, we are Rotarians, right?
Mhm.
We've got our 4-way tests. Like, we've got to do things that are truth, that are there, and we've got to make sure that it is good for everybody. And we tend to ensure that there's peace, there's friendship around, right? So this for me has been the hardest part of leading as a woman, because it's not all the time that you're able to get your principles across to your partners and people with whom you have to work in order to achieve what you want to achieve. That for me is, the
Thank you.
hardest thing.
And I love the fact that you talked about the good things for
Mhm.
women leaders, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
People think, oh, it's just a buzz, but it's so important. Having that
So,
empathy,
mhm,
understanding what your emotions are and how others and how they impact. It's just so
mhm.
important.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the barriers and challenges of not being heard all the time, which is important.
Mm.
Now, I have to ask a follow-up about the politicians. So, when
Mhm.
you were a leader as a politician,
Yeah.
how would you say that were you how did you get your what you wanted to accomplish for your community, for your country across in a way that you were comfortable that everybody felt heard? Because this is a challenge for leaders.
Mm. Yeah. Well, as I've mentioned earlier on, you've got to be forceful, right? If you think and you believe that something is going to work and it's going to be positive, it is going to have positive impact on the group you're working with. So you've got to go ahead and do it. It's not, like I said, it's not always easy, because sometimes, mainly when you're in politics, everything is around collective responsibility, right?
Mm.
So I cannot just be the solo actor, right? I cannot just go on my own and do things on my own. So I have to think about the others. I have to think about the bigger group. So But I still kept on to my principles because this is what I believe that made me, if I can say so, quote unquote, successful at the end, because I stick to my principles. This is how I believe things has to be done. I'm going to do it this way, no matter what the others might be thinking, or even if they think that I'm not going to succeed. So I kept to my principles. So putting people first, making sure that everything that I do is in the best interest of the people I'm working with, and getting out of there as clean-handed and as you know, without any problems, and make sure that people are happy. That has been my guided principle, and yeah, this is how I've tried to make sure that what I wanted to do for my community, I get it done. Because, like I said, it was not easy at all to get my points across. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I think, having that guiding principle will always keep you on the right straight
Mm,
arrow and lead to success. So that's good. As you said, it wouldn't be easy, but you'll get there.
mm,
Now you're a mom, and
mhm,
on my perspective, moms are leaders from the get-go, and they're our first experience as leaders, our parents. So can
mhm.
you tell me what lessons you've learned as a mom that's helped you with your leadership journey?
Mm. Okay. So, um, the biggest takeaway would be like, what I've learned, it has taken time, is to learn to let go.
Mm.
What do I mean by letting go is that I am a kind of person who who tries to control everything, or maybe who try to be in control of everything and everybody in the process. So everybody would be like my kids, for instance. So I've learned that um, although all parents and all mom, what we want for our kids is what's best for them, right? And we try to kind of, sometimes we impose things on them because we believe that this is the best way things should be. This is the best way things should be done for them to be happy. But I've learned with time that sometimes as well, you need to listen more. So the listening part of it, which is also a big chunk of what a good leader should possess, the ability to listen and also to let go. This is what I believe is how things should be done. But if your child says, this is not the way that I want to go, this is not the how I would like it to be, try to let go of things and let it be. Because this is the only way I've realized that they're going to learn, right? If we won't be able to protect them from everything, and we won't be able to be there for them all the time. So if you just can relax, let it be, and trust. So listen, let go, and trust. So that's how that are the biggest takeaways I've got from being a mother, what I've learned from motherhood and raising three marvelous kids so far. So yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And thank you. I think those two things are so important. And the
Mhm.
letting go, I like that because, again, maybe, just maybe, our ideas are not what needs to be happening in that moment. So, yeah,
Exactly.
yes. And now we know that the leaders of tomorrow are our youth, this next generation. What are your thoughts? Because you've had some experience working with Rotaractors, which are
Mhm.
young people looking at getting into Rotary.
Yeah.
Can you tell us some experiences and what you've observed for the youth of when it comes to leadership?
Hmm. Well, Melanie, when it comes to the youth, sometimes we get really like, I mean, I am. I think that maybe many people around also might share the same feeling. When you hear them, when you look at them, when you see what's happening out there, you're so scared. right? You said, "Oh my God, are those the adults of the future? Are those the people who will be looking after my best interest in the future?" I'm so it's so uncertain, and are you so scared, right? And but working with young people, because I've had the opportunity, like I said, from a very young age to work with other young person, same age as me, or sometimes younger than me, and I've been doing that like forever. And working lately, as we know, like I said, everybody, we look at what's going on out there with technology, mobile phones, and everything that is happening. We just say, "Oh my God," we lose hope in our youth, right? We tend to think that it's done, they're doomed. Nothing good is going to come out of this generation, the Gen Z, whatever. We tend to be very negative when it comes to their capacity to make things happen out there. And working, like you said, like working with the Rotaract and Interact, like youths, from the age of the 12, 13 onwards, like in that crucial period. And on top of that, Melanie, I've been a teacher as well. So I've been working with youth practically all my life. So when you work with them and when you get close to them, when you sit down with them and talk, you realize that, okay, forget it. It's not that, bleak and dark. So there are good things in those youths. What they need is simply guidance. And that part is not for them to do, it's for us to do. Because we're adults. We can see their problems. We know that what are the weaknesses, and we know what are the causes of what we see as negative and as dark. So it is for us to guide those young people so that they can become the adults that we want for tomorrow. So this is what I've learned. Every time I'm amazed, my heart like starts beating really fast, and I'm really excited when I start working with youth and I see how amazing they can be, how innovative they can be, and how they look upon upon their future with hope, and we can't lose hope upon them, because if we say that, "Oh, that's done, they doom," so it means that we're saying that the next generation, that the future is doomed, and we will be in that future as well. So we cannot give up on them, and they've got so much good things, to share with us, and to make happen for tomorrow, that we should be there to guide them. And like last, was it? Time goes by so fast, I lose track of time. Was it last week or the week before? It was last week, the week before. I had the opportunity to participate in Camp Enterprise here in Canada, which is one opportunity to work with the young people, right? And I was amazed how respectful, how smart and innovative, and how they've got so many skills, to work together as a team, to support each other, and to make things happen. And it was just that, revealing of the kind of young people that we have out there, and the kind of future that we can also have if only each and every one of us adults, we take time to see the good things that the young people have, instead of just seeing the bad sides of things and saying, "Okay, we do." Right. So this is what I believe that we should what is happening here. And this is what I've learned from working with younger generation. And when we talk about like generation gap, yes, there will always be a gap. We will not be able to wipe off the gap. If one day an adult says there is no gap, it means that we are in a world where there is only adults. There's no youth. There's no other generation. So it won't be good. So there will always be gaps, but as adults, I always put it on us because we know better, right? We're supposed to know
Yeah, that's
better.
very true. And I'm just
So,
going to give some
mhm,
context to our listeners about Camp
yeah.
Enterprise. So this is an
hmm
opportunity where some of the Rotarians that have business experience bring a group of about 50 youth that come, and they're about grade 11 and 12 students, correct? Lordana, is
Yes,
that right?
yes.
And they come together for the number of days and learn about entrepreneurship, about running a business, but also just general business practices. And I think are you and some of the other Rotarians shared, they even had to do their own business proposal. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
And this is where I got to work with them because I was there as a facilitator and working with one group. So they were divided into different groups where they had different all different Rotarians working with different groups, and where they had to come up with a business idea. And you wouldn't believe the different ideas that those young people came up with. And the winner, and afterwards there is a winner. And the winner was a group which worked on how they're going to use vegetables which are not signed on the market because they're different. So, Melanie, we talk about inclusion so very often,
Yep.
even in the vegetable world. We have to include.
Nobody's left
So,
out.
yeah, so this is their business. We are going to collect those vegetables, which because they're not the right shape or whatever it is, they're not pretty, they're not at the look, it's not going to sell. They're going to collect all this and they're going to sell it to people at a lower price so people can get access to those vegetables, which was a marvelous project. Yeah.
Amazing. And you talked about adults giving guidance, and that's about
Mhm.
mentorship. And
Mhm.
mentorship is essential for any leader. Can you share any time that you've had a mentor and how that impacted you?
Yeah, have had a few. Right. So let's see. I'm thinking about several occasions. I'm trying to pick the one. I will pick. Like I've had mentors on a spiritual basis, which have been really great. Has done me a lot of good on a spiritual aspect. I've had I've had mentors, like I have to say, at school, when you're at school, your teachers are mentors as well. But I have to pick one which is more recent, if I can say, yeah, it would be you, Melanie.
Oh.
Yeah, because it really, I've had the opportunity to, if I can say, we collaborated because
Mhm.
I needed placement and you were there, and I can say that, yeah, you've been a great mentor. It was really important for me because it's not easy when you're studying, right? And you're being a mom and you're juggling several roles at the same time. And when you have someone who's there, who is comprehensive, whom you can talk to with kind of it's seamless, communication. You can talk about anything and everything. You're not scared that that person is going to be judgmental, is going to bring you down because you have not been able to do something properly. Yeah, it is very helpful. But I can say that in my life, I've had a few really great mentors, like I said, whether spiritual or during my education. I can say my parents also have been really good mentors up till now. And yeah, and lately I found you, and I can say I would
Oh.
recommend Melanie to anybody.
Well, thank you. I truly appreciate that. And you're right. Mentors come in all different shapes, sizes, and different segments of our life. But I find, like, because you're mentioning for the youth, mentorship is such a vital piece in the sense of they can get mentors to guide them on their leadership journey.
We'll be back in just a minute. "10 years in the making, Connecting Possibilities, the story of Connect for Life" is Melanie Taddeo's newest publication about the charity she created in 2014.
I'm Melanie Taddeo, the founder of Connect for Life. Connecting Possibilities is a story of growth, leadership, and accessibility. It is the story of Connect for Life.
Available in paperback and EPUB versions globally through all major online retailers.
So, Lordana, what kind of skill sets do you think the youth for leaders for tomorrow really need to be focusing on to help ensure that they're prepared to go into any sort of leadership role for their future?
Right. Like I said, uh, what we've noticed lately, more and more emphasis and focus is being placed on emotional skills, right? And you've got to be able to understand others. And for me, in a world where we see technology, AI, and all these kinds of development and improvement, which is really great for our life and for, let's say, the health sector or any other sectors, which is improving life around, can also be negative in the sense if we leave it all to machines and we forget about ourselves. So for me, leaders of tomorrow will still have to develop their emotional intelligence and skills, get to know people better. Because if you're a leader, like you've said, if you're leading other people. Okay, you're leading a group, you're leading a team, you're leading others. So in order to ensure that you are successful, because this is what we are all looking at when we are going to lead anyway. You want success at the end. You want to achieve your objectives that you've set from the very beginning. It is important for people to understand what the others need and not to focus on what I want, but what others want. So if you're not emotional enough, if you don't have this capacity to show empathy, to understand others, you might have all the technology, you might have all the academic knowledge, you might have all the qualifications. It's not going to be useful because it's sad to say, but we're living in a world where we need love, we need patience, we need care, we need emotions around. We're lacking that. And that's what's, I think, from my point of view, not everybody has to agree with me, but this is what is missing in this world to make it a better place, to make it more peaceful, right? If we could just put ourselves in the shoes of others and understand what they want. Because this is a mistake that having had this opportunity to be in politics, that probably most politicians lacks is that we forget about the people who vote for us once we are in power. And this is where everything just go berserk. Like they do whatever they think is good for us people. And it should be the other way around, while it should be the other way around. So for me to be a good leader for tomorrow is to develop that emotional intelligence more, coupling it with all the technological development around. I think that will be really, really helpful.
Thank you so much. And I think it's such vital information. Now, is there anything else about leadership that you want to bring to the table today? Because, we've talked about you as a mom, as a woman, different cultures, and of course, about your experience working with youth. But anything else that you want to bring to the table?
Yeah, Melanie, I think it is also something that I've noticed while working with youths and with other people. There is an issue that is kind of scares me a little bit. That let's take it from a the youth perspective. Young people don't have enough self-confidence to take leadership very often. If you start working with young people, you'll realize that they are so great. Like I've said previously, they've got a lot of talent, they've got a lot of things to give to us and to give to the world. But when it comes to taking leadership, there you've got to be really, looking for it and digging for it and convincing them, yes, you can, then someone. Or you might just have that one person who is always going to put their finger up to say, me, when it comes to taking leadership, and all the others will say, that's not for me. I don't think that I'll be able to do that. They don't have enough self-confidence. They don't trust themselves enough to be able to take leadership out there. So for me, this is quite, I'm quite preoccupied by that, right? Being a mom also, I can see it at home. You can notice that. I've noticed it a lot among young people. So it's either the same group will always be leading, and most of the group will not be willing to take that chance, to seize that opportunity, and to just go ahead and do it. So I guess I don't know. There's a lot of factors that can be affecting that lack of confidence in being a good leader. And if we're not going to go into that,
Well, I'm curious, what is the
yeah.
solution? What should we suggest to young people to build their confidence?
There's a lot of education and how can I say that? Like, mentoring, like we've mentioned earlier on, mentoring, a lot of education, a lot of sensitization with the young people to encourage them. They should be encouraged, because I think, like, the world that we are living in today, the education system that we have, and the social system that exists in different societies as well, or in some societies, do not really help kids to trust themselves. So there's a lot of work. It's not easy. It has to start at home. Like being a mom, and everything starts at home. Basic education. This is where it has to start. We parents, we have to see to it, ensure that we are able to make our kids trust themselves, right? So we have to trust them, and they have to trust themselves. And also there's this aspect. I know now everybody just blames a mobile phone for all the ills that is happening in the family. Every time we have a problem, they're going to say, "Oh, it's because of the telephone, because of the mobile phone." Kids are just hang up to their mobile phones. Yes, but we can also maybe try to find ways and means of using that technology to induce more confidence in our young people, communicating with them in a trustworthy manner, because maybe sometimes us adults, we don't really communicating to youth in a trustworthy manner. Like what I'm saying by that is that instead of telling them, yes, you can, yes, there is a possibility, it doesn't matter if you're going to mess up, it's all right to mess up. We're going to say, you should not, you should be, we talk in a way, psychologically, we affect our young people not to trust in themselves. So I think it has to start there, but it's quite complex and complicated, right?
Definitely. No, but I think
but
this is
it has
something.
to start somewhere.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you've
But the
brought up
house
something.
is the best place.
Yes.
So
And you've definitely brought up something that I think a lot of us don't even think about. But confidence is a huge part of leadership, and it is something that you can work on. So encouraging the youth and the leaders of tomorrow to definitely focus on improving their confidence in different areas of life, and definitely starting at home is the best starting point. Well, I want to thank you so very much for your time today, Lordana. It's been such a good conversation. You've brought so much insight to us, and I truly appreciate you. And again, I encourage everybody to really take some time and reflect on what Lordana shared today. I would love to hear your thoughts. And until next time,
thank you so much, Melanie.
thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
You have been listening to Connect for Life, the podcast. Connect for Life is a Canadian-based registered charity committed to eliminating barriers for people with disabilities. Visit connectforlife.ca and join us in helping people with disabilities become the champions of their growth stories.